Welcome to the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of May 9th, 2022. I'm Catherine Aleko, and I'm here with Terry Morrow.
Hello.
And Nicole Eridix.
Hi there.
Every week, we chat about the things parents are talking about, complaining about, and obsessing about right now. This week, we're complaining about matching family attire and obsessing about unpopular opinions. We also take a couple of breaks for an entertainment discussion and a recommendation roundup. Today, we are talking about grand gestures of generosity. Wow, that was kind of a tongue twister that I didn't necessarily intend.
Say that 5 times fast.
Anyway, but this is inspired by something, Terry, a song you've been listening to?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've spoken here about Walker Hayes a number of times. And right now he is having this ridiculous spurt of fame and success in the wake of Fancy Like. But on an earlier album, he had a song called Craig that tells the story of a time when he was sort of in a bad place and he was struggling with alcoholism and he had lost his record deal. And I guess along with the departure of the record deal went the departure of the family's minivan. It seems like possibly it was part of his deal that he had this vehicle and now he had to give it back. So he sings about, they had to use his wife's car. And so he had his wife and 6 kids and only 5 seatbelts. And it was just a really difficult time. And this man he had met in church, Craig, just sort of signed his van over to the family so that they would have, an appropriate vehicle. It was just somebody making an enormous gesture at a time when somebody really needed it. And, Craig says to Walker, please do, somebody did this for me once, please let me do it for you. So that song has now grown into a book called Glad You're Here by Walker and Craig, and it's just coming out now. So if that sounds like something you would like to read more about, you can look that up on Amazon. It's there. But it got me thinking about gestures that people make, gestures of grace that people make to families at a time when they're struggling. It can be something as big as a car, or it can just be something as big as getting it. Understanding what's going on and doing something, any sort of gesture sometimes feels enormous, not possibly as expensive as a vehicle, but as meaningful. So I thought we would talk all about whether we had experienced in our families' lives somebody doing us that sort of gesture of generosity, whether material or spiritual. Catherine, you said you thought you had a story for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not, it's probably neither material nor spiritual, but it was still just kind. So, my son, since he has been a baby, basically has been interested in aviation and flying in airplanes. And we have this big aviation museum, as it happens, nearby. And, he always goes there, and they have a special thing where when you turn 8, you can go and get a free airplane ride from just like these, basically a lot of like old retired guys who just have their own plane, little tiny planes, and they take kids up in their planes, and it's very sweet. But anyway, so we have a friend who knows about our son's interests, and she also is a pilot, just a, recreational pilot. Is that what you call it? She's, she's not a professional, but she's a licensed pilot. And several years ago, when our son was probably 9 or 10 or something, she said to us, well, I'm flying to this event. And how about I take him? How about if I take your son? And she did. She took him on this little trip just to, a flight of like a half an hour, 45 minutes away or whatever. And she let him take the controls, and she took videos and pictures of the whole thing for us. And it was just like a really, it made his year for sure. my kid. So
that is so cool.
Super generous thing for her to do, because it costs a lot of money to take a plane out.
Yeah.
And I don't think it cost much extra to have like a 60-pound 9-year-old with you, but it was just really, and to offer something like that, was just really, it meant a lot to everybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I bet someone in her life did that to her, for her, when she was that age.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Love it when people do that, when they key into your kids' interests and do kind things. Yeah, I know my son is really crazy about keys. They're kind of a comfort object for him. And a lot of times people will give him keys and that's fine, but he has like really specific things that he wants. I think he collects keys that are like cars of people he knows. And so what really is the best thing to do is just let him play with your keys. The number of people who have been gracious about that over the years is amazing to me, because even as he's gotten older and you want to look at what now, still people get it and do it for him, and anytime they do, they have my eternal gratitude and blessings. Nicole, have you had an experience like this with your family?
Just trying to think. There's been definitely like my kids per se, like, people have along the way have gone out of their way to help them and support them. A good friend of ours has actually, like when Josh started expressing an interest in medical school, our friend is an emergency room physician and has been for many, many years. And he kind of took Josh under his wing and, took him on tours of the hospital and went for coffee with him and talked to him about applying for medical school and, the realities of it, not just all the, but really like, you go to medical school if you don't want to do, if you can't do anything else,
right?
Basically, because it's tough. It's like, it's not easy street.
Yeah.
So he really kind of laid out all those, the realities for Josh, which was really, really, really good. And, just kind of really served as a mentor until, still is, but Josh hasn't had time to connect with him lately, but
because he's in medical school.
Yeah, because he's in medical school. But yeah, he was, that was a kind gesture, and certainly nothing that we expected, but it made a world of difference for Josh, and really kind of gave him the confidence and the, I guess, confidence to apply and what to expect and whatnot. So because we had never expected that, like that wouldn't, we wouldn't go and ask somebody to do that, right? But he obviously somebody had done it for him. And actually that's what Josh had said, was like, I'm so thankful, like, thank you for helping me and guiding me. He kind of wrote him a letter once he found out that he got into a school. So he kind of wrote this friend of ours a letter and said, thank you for guiding me. And, I'd love to, take you out for dinner one night or whatnot. And our friend just said, somebody did this for me. All I ask is that you do the same for somebody, for another person.
Pay it forward.
Yeah. Pay it forward. Just guide them through the process. So that's
so lovely.
Yeah. It was good. It really helped them out.
I've been trying. One thing that I thought of for this is actually more of a spiritual gesture than a material one. And I appreciated it a lot at the time, but I've grown to appreciate it more through the years when things got so much harder. But when we first started going to our church and my kids were both little, my daughter had already had her first communion, but my son had not. And I very, avidly advocated for him to be included in the religious education. And there was a lot of uncertainty about that. The teachers didn't really feel that they could handle him, and they weren't sure about it. But the lady who was in charge then, Mrs. Cece, was firm about it, that yes, this is going to happen. Let's figure this out. And when it came time for First Communion, she said, yes, this is going to happen. Let's figure this out. And he got his First Communion. And afterwards, all the parents who I had been thinking would saying, oh, we had to have this fidgety kid in our things, I don't know about this, the parents were all so kind and said, I'm so happy that my child got to have First Communion with yours. Just an absolute unnecessary gift, but meant so much to me, dealing with kids with disabilities. For inclusion's sake, not everybody is gonna fight for you. So that was really meaningful and is more meaningful to me every day. So, listeners, if you have had somebody make this kind of gesture to you, tweet us about it at Roundabout Chat, or on Instagram or any of the other places we're at. And maybe think about what you could do for somebody else along those lines and make this sort of meaningful gesture, because it feels real good when you do. And that's it for today's round 1. Tune in tomorrow for our entertainment themed round 2, and later in the week to find out what we're complaining about, obsessing about, and recommending right now. We're always interested in what you have to say, so drop us a comment on our website, our Facebook page, or Twitter, where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat.